Okay. Well, my name is Mark Kastleman. I am one of the co-founders of a company called Candeo, and we provide anonymous private online help to help people break out of pornography use and other unwanted sexual behaviors. Because our program's online, it's 24/7, it's worldwide, and so all the resources and tools and training and social support that people need are right there at their fingertips, around the clock anywhere in the world. And so that's what we do. It's awesome to be here with you today. I wanted to just take a few minutes and talk a little bit about pornography addiction. There's a pornography addiction pandemic that's happening around the world today, and I hope to help you have a better understanding of why that is, and if you or someone that you care about is struggling, hopefully give you some ideas and some hope about how you can break out of that. One of the things I want you to know about the Candeo team, myself and my colleagues, we're fairly unique as a group. We've really brought together some of the best people in the world in the fields of brain science, in psychology, and in technology. And we've brought all of those individuals together under one roof. But even something that's more important about the Candeo team is that most of the Candeo professionals either have successfully come through their own recovery process from unwanted sexual behaviors, or they've actually been clinicians where they've been helping individuals over many years to break free. So we're unique as an organization because we bring that past experience to the table, so we have a really good idea about what those who struggle are going through, because many of us have been there and have done that. Let me talk a little bit about my experience, because I'm hoping that those of you who are watching, if you're struggling with some of these unwanted behaviors currently, or if you have someone you care about that's struggling, one of the things about pornography addiction is that there's a lot of mystery about it. Those who struggle have a hard time figuring out, why is this so powerful? Why is it so hard for me to overcome this? I try and I fail and I keep falling back into it, and it's just this endless cycle. Why does that happen? Well, when I was 13 years old, I lived in a place called the San Fernando Valley, California, which was back then and is to this day the pornography production capital of the world. And when I was 13, I was introduced by friends to pornography. And I was instantly hooked from the very first experience. And that started a process in my life that ended up being a 25-year struggle to try and break free from that addiction. Overcoming and falling, I call it the roller coaster ride from hell. And I actually got to the place in my life where I was so hopeless from that fight and so tired of failing that I even contemplated taking my own life. And fortunately, around about that time, I was introduced to a lot of people that I'm now involved with in the Candeo process, and started learning about the brain science, about the psychology, learning about why those things had become so powerful in my life and what I needed to do to break free. And so that's a little bit about my background. Let me start to hopefully answer some of the questions that you might have about pornography addiction and use, and why it's such a terrible scourge and pandemic in the world today. Well, one of the things we now know is that pornography addiction is really a brain chemical addiction. When pornography is viewed, it triggers the brain into releasing its own natural neurochemicals. Very powerful amounts of dopamine, for example, norepinephrine, a tidal wave of endorphins, serotonin, and these are the same types of brain chemicals that are released when someone uses street drugs. And so the brain develops a dependency on the release of those drugs as a way to cope with the stress and the pressures of life. If someone's feeling lonely or bored or burned out, they learn that they can go and hit that mouse button and...
It stopped. Okay, go ahead.
Still going?
Just having a few tech glitches, but you're good to go.
I don't have to go back and repeat all that, do I?
No, the audio came through, just the...
Go ahead.
So what happens really is a person develops a dependency on the release of those brain chemicals to deal with life, the same that they would develop a dependency on street drug use, for example, on cocaine. So I like to say that pornography use really in many ways is like substance abuse. and it develops a chemical dependency on the brain on those visual images versus on a substance that you would inject or ingest. So that's important to understand, because knowing that pornography forms a brain chemical addiction, it makes sense then that just trying harder or using more willpower isn't going to be enough to overcome that addiction, any more than willpower would be enough to overcome a cocaine addiction. There has to be more. And so that's one of the things I want you to know, that willpower and simply trying harder doesn't get it done for this addiction. So let's talk about why that is from a brain science standpoint. Well, there are different systems in the brain involved with addiction, and there's a certain system in the brain involved with logic and willpower and trying harder. Willpower resides in what we call the prefrontal cortex, or the frontal lobes of the brain. This is our logic center. This is the CEO, or the executive of the brain. And when we exercise willpower, when we keep in mind consequences and our future goals, we're engaging this front part of the brain. Unfortunately, that's not the part of the brain where addiction resides. Addiction is really, it's complicated, but there are two primary systems. One is that emotional, reward, pleasure-driven part of the brain, the limbic system, and that's where we become dependent on the release of those neurochemicals when the pornographic images are viewed. Another system of the brain that's involved with addiction is the habit formation system, the place where we build repetitive behaviors, rituals. So if I'm having a really stressful day and I've taught my brain through repetition to go hit that mouse button so I can release those neurochemicals, the reward pleasure system of my brain's kicking in, and that habit formation system is kicking in. Neither of those are residing in the logic center. So if I try to use my logic and reasoning to overcome or supersede that reward system and that habit system, I'm going to lose every time. People will often say, God, when I get that urge, it just washes over me, and it's like somebody is taking over my brain. It's like another person is stepping in and dominating me. And really, in a lot of ways, that's true. So you have that reward center of your brain and that habit system, and they kick in and override the logic system. That's why you lose all thought of future consequences, of my goals, my family, my commitments, my religious beliefs. All that disappears because that habit system and that reward system kick in and dominate the process. So that's why willpower and just trying hard enough don't work. In fact, the more I try to force those urges out of my mind, the more powerful they become, until it dominates almost every waking minute of my life. So there are better ways, effective ways to overcome these addictions, and it isn't simply by trying harder or exercising willpower. A thing that we often say at Candeo is that the same type of process that got you into this addiction or these unwanted behaviors can get you out. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you're going to go through a recovery process and break free from pornography, you have to engage the same systems of the brain that created that addiction in the first place. And so what are those systems? Well, I've got to engage my pleasure, reward, emotional system in my brain, and I've got to engage that habit-forming or ritual part of my brain. So I need to work with the same brain systems involved with my addiction, and I can rewire those systems, change the circuitry, and use those same systems to now break myself out of the addiction. What got me in can get me out. And that's really what the Candeo program is all about. All of our tools, our training, our coaching, our social support, it's all revolving around engaging those parts of your brain that built the addiction and helping you to direct and empower and use those same systems to break out. And so it's really powerful how that works. And once you make that mind shift away from willpower and simply trying harder to using those systems of the brain, it's amazing how quickly you can start to find success. Now, I want to be really clear. There are no quick fixes with regard to this addiction. However, I will tell you that our worldwide Candeo students, they usually find some pretty quick success. once they start using the right place, the right systems in the brain, they find that they can start getting power over this addiction and start to break free. The challenge is, how do you take that initial success and now build success upon success to achieve long-term lasting change? How do you stay with it? And we've geared the entire Candeo system so that every day you have 24/7 access to all these tools and support and coaching so that you can get that daily repetition, that daily doing that will bring about that permanent lasting change that you seek. It takes time, it takes hard work, but I can tell you with the Candeo system we built, the hard work has never been easier. So that's a little bit about how that process works. Now, what we've done as part of this Morality in Media and Fight the New Drug Awareness campaign is we want to make it easy for those of you who are struggling to get onto the Candeo program and to start experiencing the success of that program. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you go to our website at candeocan.com, that's CANDEOCAN.com, and if you go to the Sign Up Now page, as you set up an account, there's a coupon code, and if you'll put in the coupon code MIM, that stands for Morality in Media, if you put in the coupon code MIM, then your first month with Candeo is just $1. So you can get engaged in the program for just $1, and then the second month forward is just $47 a month. That's one of the remarkable things about technology, is that we're able to put all of these tools and training and support, all these wonderful devices for recovery online, and to do it at this remarkably affordable cost. That's only possible through the online technology. So it's safe, it's anonymous, it's private, it's help whenever you need it, wherever you need it, on your computer or your handheld device, and it's there for you to get started and to start to break out of this crazy addiction that can put us in such a helpless, hopeless place. And so I'm here to tell you that if it worked for me and a lot of my colleagues, I am certain that it can work for you. So I'm going to open it up to some questions and
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. We appreciate it. We're going to take this question first comes from Dawn, and she just said, Mark, do you have a rate of success, or how many people that are seeking help are able to actually overcome their addiction? Do you have any metrics or showing you how Candeo is making a difference there?
Well, one of the things that's unique about Candeo, we're always tracking data. We're gathering data from our worldwide students, and we're always able to see what's working currently. And we adjust our program, and we've done that for years as we see what works and we capitalize on it, we make it better. So everything we do is based on the work in our clinics and what we see working with worldwide students. What I can tell you is those who work the program, they always find success. It's all about working the program. Now, how long it takes to break out and to get that lasting permanent change, that has to do with how long a person's been involved with pornography and other behaviors, how deeply embedded those behaviors are. But the thing I can tell you is these processes, as you rewire and change the brain, they will work for everyone if they'll actually work the program.
Candeo specifically versus other types of support systems, and a similar theme in these questions are, give us the difference between Candeo versus one-on-one counseling. Maybe you could just tell us kind of what the difference is in the value between the two.
Sure. The real focus with the Candeo program is a couple things. One is we have a very heavy emphasis on brain science. We want to teach individuals, how have you formed this addiction? How does it work in the brain? What are the mechanisms to break out of that? And so there's about 13 hours of multimedia training in Candeo to take you through all of those processes. They're all in 3 or 4 minute segments. There's online assignments and practices, but it's all about giving you this understanding about the brain science, and then giving you the daily tools to actually use on a daily basis to get that practice and that repetition and that support that's needed to go forward and change. The key to that is it's available online 24/7. Our addictions don't keep a schedule. They don't come up and challenge us 9 to 5. You can be challenged by this 24 hours a day, and so having these mechanisms immediately available right now at the push of a button on your computer or handheld device is critical. When you need it, where you need it. Also, we have online coaches, individual human beings that communicate with you through an anonymous message board to help walk you through this process. Our worldwide forums where you can talk with students around the world who are struggling just like you are to support and help each other. So all of these things have been brought together in one place in this online technology so that they're available to everybody at a really affordable price. It may be that some of you will find as you go through the program that you need more help. And so we interact with a lot of therapists and psychologists who use the Candeo platform with their patients because those people perhaps need some additional help and some additional intensive therapy. And so Candeo works beautifully with that as well.
Okay, so this is probably going to be our last question depending on time. This one comes from James, and he asks, he's specifically referring to the payment process. He says, why is Candeo for pay when there are many free support groups that exist? Maybe you can explain the difference, why people have to pay for Candeo.
Yeah, Candeo is much more than just an online support group. As I said, there's extensive multimedia training that goes through all of the aspects of recovery. They're put into learning modules that we have tested and proven as being necessary to help you learn and achieve change. There are lots of technology tools, online coaching. So there are a lot of things that have been brought together. And if you compare all of the things that are available on the Candeo program with more of the traditional counseling and therapy methods, actually the cost is a lot lower because we're able to make it available to people through technology in the online world. So it's not just social support, it's an enormous amount of tools and training and resources and coaching that are all necessary for someone who's really serious about recovery. So I encourage you to stay involved with your social support groups that are free, but you're going to have to do more than that to go through this entire process of rewiring the brain and changing behaviors and making those long-term lasting changes that are essential for recovery.
Great. All right, thanks, Mark. That's a great presentation. We appreciate it. Do you want to say anything lastly where they can go if they have additional questions?
Yeah, again, just go to our website at candeocan, candeocan.com. There's lots of podcasts and information there that you can get. And as I say, if you want to get involved in the program, if you're listening to this podcast, on the sign-up page in the coupon code spot, just put MIM, Morality and Media, and the cost for the first month will just be $1.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay.